everyone, and welcome back to another edition of BrainScratch. I originally thought we were going to do a mini-scratch on this, but there has been a big turn in the case, and we have a lot to cover. So the Jeffrey Lash story, believe it or not, that is Mr. Lash. That's a DMV photo taken just in 2010, so I think he was about 55 years old then. But the Jeffrey Lash story has kind of a big break this week that we need to cover, as well as a bunch of questions that were raised to me by a fan of BrainScratch. I want to thank Izzy from Ontario for doing a bunch of great research and shooting it my way, and then having some good back and forth conversation with me about our findings. I really appreciate user contributions that are that substantial. Basically, she gave me so much information, I could have done an episode just about that, but as I've mentioned, new developments, and we're going to cover a bit of Izzy's material as well as get into those new developments. So, first of all, that is our good friend, Mr. Lash. These are two radio show hosts for KFI AM 640 in the Los Angeles area. They are known as The John and Ken Show, and they did an interview with this man who is a crime and court reporter for KFI. His name is Eric Leonard. And I had a few viewers that actually brought up this link to me and shot it my way. I listened to the whole interview, and it was interesting because Eric had actually met Jeffrey Lash on a few occasions. However, during the interview, there were some things that kind of struck me odd about what he was proclaiming to know about. For example, he was under the assumption that Jeffrey Lash was a trust fund baby, that he was receiving somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000 a week. And I just kind of questioned, how would someone that has only met this guy once or twice have information like that? He didn't really give a good explanation about the source of where that information came from. There was some talk, I can't remember if it was specifically in this interview, but a lot of people have kicked around in the media the story that Jeffrey Lash might have been getting money from his father's inventions and patents. And I actually went and did some searching there. Google has a very good patent search engine, and I could not find anything in terms of Jeffrey Lash's father being an inventor or having any registered patents. Just really came out kind of strange. So I'm really not sure the Eric Leonard information was fun to listen to for a radio show, but I'm not sure how much valid points it gave us or how many facts that we could really lean on. It was very questionable in my eyes. Izzy also sent me this link to this website, which I hadn't bumped into before, called Restrictive Intuition, and this is kind of a web sleuths type website where people are encouraged to bring facts and information and discuss cases, kind of like we do on a certain favorite YouTube show of everybody's. So it was pretty interesting. I read through everything that they had on Jeffrey Lash, and in particular, a big part of their focus started going into Facebook. There was a lot of people doing Facebook research, particularly around Dawn Vadbunker. And if you don't remember all this quite well, you can check out the mini-scratch episode I did on Jeffrey Lash to kind of get a primer on this case. But Dawn was supposedly an employee of Jeffrey's fiancée, Catherine. And Catherine and Dawn disappeared when Jeffrey died. They came back 2 weeks later. His body was still in the car. That's just kind of the short end of it. Actually, Dawn did not come back. Catherine came back. Dawn is, I think, still currently in Oregon. I found information as of about a week ago that made it sound like she was still up there trying to recover from this traumatic event. The thing that's great about Rigorous Intuition is they really kind of went into Dawn's background quite a bit. She's kind of a gypsy. She even uses that in some of her online personas. She uses the term, I think, surfing gypsy for one of her login names. Her name, Vadbunker, this seems to be coming from an adoption that just happened within the past year. And this woman is 39 years old. I did just a quick Wikipedia search on that because the only thing that I could think of an adoption happening that late in life is to try to keep some type of inheritance within a family or something like that. And that's basically what Wikipedia confirmed, that is the most common reason for an adoption to happen to an adult. But she also had a bit of turmoil. She had this one-year marriage that got annulled. She has 2 daughters, but it doesn't seem like they're very close, and her name seems to have changed a couple times. She was also known as Dawn Marie Curry, Dawn Marie Hannon, I believe that's from the marriage, and now we're at Dawn Marie Vadbunker, which is apparently the last name of this family that she was just adopted into. So kind of interesting information there. But a question that came up, particularly when I was reading social media of her friends, they were trying to defend her decision to stay away and stay out of the public eye and stay in Oregon to recover from this trauma. And I was wondering why. What is so traumatic about this? I mean, your boss's fiance died, and for some reason that has put you in a spot where you have to hide from the world for several weeks. There's something about that that's nagging at me a little bit that I don't quite understand, but maybe we'll get to a theory by the end of this video about all that. So, speaking of, let's get to, there's a shot of Dawn right there. Let's get to the big news update. Palisadian Post just posted this on August 26th, so this is pretty recent news. Mystery man Jeff Lash conned lovers for cash, women claim. So basically, as far as they can tell, Jeff Lash had at least 2 serious girlfriends, and they are also alluding to the fact that a roommate of his that they found out about a month ago that lives just a couple miles from the condo where he was staying with all of his guns. They also think that she might be a 3rd girlfriend in this case. One of the girlfriends is claiming that she gave him at least $1 million. So we're now starting to get a sense of where this cash is piling, the cash that was found, the $230,000, that might have come from this girlfriend. I was even finding traces of comments from his current fiancée, from Catherine, about how much money she was giving to him, and I was just seeing little sprinkles of it in the news stories. But now if you consider, we know he bilked at least one long-term girlfriend for almost $1 million, who knows how much he bilked out of Catherine as well, and I think we now understand where he may have been getting his funds for purchasing all these weapons and living the type of life that he was. Catherine was actually kept in her own condo pretty much like a prisoner. He did construction in there, created special walls, put in extra doors that were locking, and basically kept her in a very small part of the house. She was supposedly sleeping in a non-working bathroom for the past 3 years, sleeping on yoga mats that were laid out on the floor in a bathroom. A bathroom that this article says is not much bigger than a closet. And there were post-it notes all around her with inspirational messages, including one that was called Catherine's Guidelines for Isolation. And specifically, what was written on there was, "Some people love me a whole lot. Many do not understand. Forgive them and set them straight. Keep your head. If he can, I can. If he can, I can." Strikes me almost like Mr. Lash may have done some research into being a cult leader or learned some tricks about conditioning people. There's just the way that's written really hits me in an odd place, as I'm sure it does you. They're able to determine all this because Lash actually had a stash of cards and notes from all of these other women. He would actually keep these little post-it notes and cards he was given on birthdays and such. So they were able to trace that. Also, something you may have heard of that was reported in the major media was neighbors were complaining that someone kept coming to the condo and dropping off a bag on the doorstep, a green plastic bag, and some people thought that that might be some kind of drug running or something to that nature that was going on. We now confirm and know that that was his second girlfriend, who this article refers to as Michelle L., and she was dropping off supplies for Catherine and Jeff because supposedly their refrigerator was non-functioning. She would drop off ice, food, and cash. She was still giving him cash at this point. So despite the fact that he had moved out of Michelle's place almost 2 decades ago, I think, and was now living with Catherine, he still had control over Michelle enough to receive proceeds from her, which is very, very strange. So where's Dawn? Back to my question. Where is Dawn, and why is she so upset? And this is purely conjecture and theory at this point, but if you consider the living conditions that Catherine was in, basically being a prisoner in her own home, having to sleep in a bathroom, it's no wonder why they were going out to dinner so often, because apparently the house, basically looks like a house that you would see from Hoarders, and I highly recommend that you check the links below. I'm going to have the link to the Palisadian Post, mushmouth. But I highly recommend that you go check out that article. They have a bunch of pictures of the inside of the house, and this was essentially like the type of house you would see on Hoarders. And he wasn't only hoarding weapons. There were thousands and thousands of CDs, thousands and thousands of DVDs, books all over the place. As a matter of fact, some of the books they found were still in the bag for bookstores that are now long gone with the receipts, and the article also notes several of the books seemed to be about getting rich, kind of get rich quick type materials, as well as being a great lover, and it definitely appears like he was using those two skill sets, and if nothing else he was at least interested in learning in them more because he had bought these books about it. So my theory on this is that Dawn may have gotten wrapped up in all of this in some romantic way as well. If you consider the relationship between Catherine and Michelle and the fact that they knew of each other, apparently Jeff had told Catherine that Michelle was an ex-girlfriend of his, but this ex-girlfriend is bringing you food and dropping off thousands of dollars on your doorstep in a green plastic bag. It sounds a little suspicious to me. I have a feeling that Dawn was getting in some way romantically involved with Jeff, and that might explain why she's uncomfortable coming back into the public eye around this case, why she doesn't want to be interviewed or have any more information come out. Another theory that's tickling in my brain a little bit is, now that we know about the conditions that Catherine was in, is there some potential that her and Dawn colluded with each other to try to get her out of that situation? I still cannot find results on the autopsy, and if any of you brain scratchers out there do, please post a link to us in the comments section so we can all review it. But I have not seen confirmation that he died of natural causes or causes related to his cancer. If they find something else in that autopsy, that could really throw all of this in an entirely new direction. Might also justify why Catherine got such a high-profile celebrity attorney. It would really, we might not be at the end of this case yet, really, until I see some confirmation about those autopsy results. I did see some stories floating around that they were having trouble identifying his body due to the fact that his fingerprints had been removed. Now, I looked for some good sources on that, basically some news articles to confirm that information, specifically for this video, and I couldn't find any. So if any of you brain scratchers out there have sources to that information that are at least somewhat trustworthy, please post those in the comments. I'd also really love to review that information. And I'm not sure if they ever got over that in terms of being able to identify him, or if they went a different route and used dental records or something of that nature. Also, just a last little twist on this story. With all of these guns, there's a lot of personal property that now needs to be divvied up and figured out, and there's apparently a bunch of cousins, first cousins of Jeff, that are kind of crawling out of the woodwork. Apparently there's 9 of them. Everyone's lawyering up because everyone wants their piece of these assets. However, I believe both Michelle and Catherine now have legal counsel, and considering their story and how much of his wealth was accumulated directly from donations from them, I think that they're going to be going into court fighting to try to recover some of those costs. So if nothing else, I think we're going to have some pretty interesting civil suit type issues going on around this case in the future. But as for the big mystery, actually, I'll even put it out there this way. Maybe all of this is the cover story. What do you think? Is Jeffrey Lash truly a womanizing gun collector that just studied up on how to manipulate people and essentially had his fiance living in a bathroom for the past 3 years? Or is all that government spin to cover up Jeffrey Lash, hybrid alien, and government super spy? I don't know. Personally, I think we're pretty close to a conclusive ending in terms of most of the mysteries on this version and edition of BrainScratch. But let me know if you have any other thoughts on it. Maybe there is something to this being a cover-up. It's going to be interesting to see how all this plays out with the court cases and autopsy results, which hopefully we'll get at some point in the future. Thank you all for tuning in and sticking around with me on this version, I keep saying that. This is an edition of BrainScratch. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Hope you're having a great week, and I will catch you on the next show on Geek and Dorks, a YouTube channel. Take care.